Baptist. Arise from the dead.
Read the Bible, you'll find out that God's not too happy with what's going on around us.
Redeem the time, because the days are evil.
The Bible has not changed.
Boldly proclaim the restoration and preservation of Christian values in America.
Satan has brainwashed a whole nation.
As goes the church, so goes the nation.
Nobody's convicted of anything anymore.
And now, here's Last Call with your host, B.J. Edwards.
Morning. Hope you're all doing well, folks. Hope you're all doing well. A lot going on in the nation, a lot going on. Good things. We're gonna start to show off with that this morning. And you're gonna hear things here that you're just not gonna hear anywhere else, folks. I'm sorry, you're just not gonna hear it anywhere. And it's legal. It's all legal. That's hard to believe, isn't it?
If anything's left yeah, I can talk. If anything is left legal, we are.
Yeah. It's
we the people.
Nature abhors a vacuum, and the church, folks. This isn't going to get fixed until righteousness gets put back in place. You can call it biblical law, or you can call it natural law, one and the same. Doesn't make any difference. We're seeing the absence of truth, the absence of righteousness. And we need to recognize it as such, and in our own way, get that back. That's for adults, that's for children. I love the Charlie Kirk effect. We're going to play a video here real quick. Children are engaging. They're going into areas and doing things that the adults should have done before. But now children, with the urging and help of their parents, are engaging the culture. And I'm going to call this the Kirk effect. You know, the LGBT community is just absolutely amazing. I remember when they first started out, they just wanted to be left alone. Just leave us alone. Don't bother us. Don't call us names. Just leave us alone. Okay? We don't really want on the stage. And the next thing you hear is, well, you know what? Yeah, we kind of like to be up there on the stage, but we'll go in the background. We'll take care of the lighting and the sound effects, but we'll just do that. And that's all we want. That's all we want. Then the next thing you hear, they want to be up front and on stage. Just a small role, mind you, not a lead role, but a minor role at best. They just want to be accepted. Next, they're talking about how they feel discriminated against because they don't have the lead role. And you know what? We need to have people, better writers. So we're going to go ahead and write the script as well. And the next thing where you have, which is right now, is they have total control of everything. And God help you if you went on the stage with them. They've kicked you out. They've put you in the closet where they come out of. And you can't get comfortable in there. And they cry discrimination, or that you're hurtful, being hurtful, and you're a hater if you want back on stage. Folks, that's where we are. And thanks to the testimony on House Bill 262, the state of Ohio, celebrating Natural Family Month from Mother's Day through Father's Day, somebody in a proponent mentioned not exactly what I said now, but said, hey, you know what? You're talking about the LGBT community feeling uncomfortable because somebody wants on stage. What about the natural family? How do they feel? Do they feel rejected? Do they feel left out? Don't you want to be inclusive as well? There's no answers to that question. In California, of all places, a student stepped up and did what needs to be done and needed to be done a long time ago. Mr. Anderson, if you can play that quick video about the Los Angeles about a California school district. This is amazing, folks, but it's important.
It's good to see. Do you want to do the disclaimer first, or are we going to go ahead?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Get the legal stuff out of the way.
You're listening or about to listen to 2 hours of opinion and entertainment supplied by Last Call Radio. We're not doctors, lawyers, politicians, professional journalists, nor do either of us hold a doctorate degree in anything. Not that make any difference. Our opinion, of course. We only ask that you as an individual and or corporately not take our statements or those that we voice from others personal, nor do we recommend that you act on them as if they are facts, although they might very well be just that, facts. But again, our opinion. You're not required to listen to, act on, or repeat anything that you hear today, and that any information or opinion we represent is meant for the good of the order and by no means intended to harm or threaten anyone. There you go, Mr. Anderson. You feel better now?
Yeah. Somebody asked me if we had a lawyer help write that.
No.
I thought it came out of, you had some help with JR, right?
Yeah, I did. JR, when he went to college, you know, when you go to college, there's some people that are really good at math, really good at history. I mean, it just comes naturally to them. Well, with JR, it was law. JR read the book, attended the class, and took the test. And he knew, I think it was probably because his natural law tendency leaning about law and about the exceptions. And those were the easy courses for JR. So yeah, he definitely helped write this this 2 hours of opinion thingy. Thank you, Mr. Anderson. I appreciate that. I want to get this video. This is good stuff. Good
From
stuff.
California.
Yeah, of all places.
Let the kids stand up.
Good morning, everyone, and thank you for tuning in and joining all the students. We're here at Esperanza High School in Anaheim, California, because unfortunately, the girls have been faced with having to deal with a male in the girls' restroom. And when the girls said they didn't want that, when they said no more, they were told that they would have to then make accommodations. They would have to go use the nurse's restroom. That they have to deal with feeling unsafe while they're at school. This is due to the fact that California passed AB 1266 as state law in 2013, which has allowed males to use girls' restrooms, locker rooms, and athletics. Our California legislators had the opportunity to fix that this year, and unfortunately, the California Democrats at the legislature did not allow for the protection and safety of girls. So now these students have taken it into their own hands to lead a student walkout, to stand strong and say they are not okay with boys in the girls' restrooms. And so I'm so excited to welcome up Leslie, who's been one of the main student leaders for this walkout.
Hello, I am Leslie and a junior here at Esperanza. First off, I'd like to give a huge thank you to all the people who made this possible, such as Sonia, Sophia, and Leandra, and all the people who showed up today to support our cause. This movement is for all of us standing here. Since my freshman year, I have created a great sense of pride as an Esperanza Aztec. Through competitions, conversations, and campus events, I've always felt like Esperanza was more than just a home. It was a home where I felt safe, seen, and respected. But unfortunately, something has changed since the 2025 to 26 school year has started. This sense of security has left. What I have experienced is that I've witnessed males in the girls' bathrooms. When I asked, "Why are you in this bathroom?" I was told, "I am trans and identify as a girl." I was immediately alarmed, and not because I wanted to disrespect anyone's identity, but because I was suddenly uncertain about my own privacy and safety in a space I had always trusted. As a female, I felt vulnerable. Like many other girls, I know the risks women face in situations where privacy is compromised, especially since biologically males can easily take advantage physically of females. That fear isn't irrational, it's real and it's valid. Immediately, I reported it to the school admin and was told that they would act upon what the district said on the situation. Later, I was informed that the male student was allowed to enter the female bathroom. After this, I was told that if this made me uncomfortable, then I could be accommodated by using the nurse's bathroom. As a woman, this felt like a slap in the face to me. As a young woman who has used the girls' bathroom my entire life, I was now being asked to step aside. It didn't feel fair. It didn't feel respectful. It felt like my concerns and the concerns of other girls were being overlooked. Let me be absolutely clear. I am not here to attack anyone. I do not wish harm on those who see things differently or anyone in the transgendered community. I truly believe every person is created in the image and likeness of God and deserves love, dignity, and respect. But I also believe that females deserve to feel safe.
Uh-oh, I can't hear BJ. You're muted.
Okay, there you go. I wanted to get the sound effects in with the traffic and the honking going on, and the stirring and the kids in the background. This is powerful stuff, folks. This is powerful stuff. Let's see what happens here, but good for them. And you know they had to have parental influence in this. I don't know why parents wait so long and have waited so long. We've been brought up to trust public schools, that they're a good thing, but they aren't, folks. They are indoctrination centers. Public schools are a bad idea.
I go back to the parents went to school themselves. We all been there. We all done that. And we remember school like it was. We have no idea what it's like now. I retired about 8 years ago from teaching, and I don't even know what's going on in these schools and the things that teachers are being asked to do. And I can't wrap my brain around teachers going along with some of the stuff that is going on.
It's not in their classroom. I'm not doing it in my classroom, so that's okay.
I guess. I don't know.
Silence is consent, folks. Silence is consent.
And now that we're waking up a little bit, maybe there's going to be some more voices, speaking out. I sure hope so.
There has to be. There better be. Speaking of voices speaking out, in Ohio, they passed a parental rights law in regards to health care and schools. And I wrote the local school board to request a copy of the district's policy to promote parental involvement in public school system as required by Ohio Rise Code, and I'm not going to give you the number. Also, I'd like to know if our district has fully implemented the requirements outlined by the recent law. I'd also understand that October is recognized as LGBTQ History Month, and would like to officially request that Westerville City Schools consider recognizing in a similar manner a Natural Family History Month during November or December of the next school year. Thank you in advance for your consideration. I did get a email back saying, well, the person that would respond to you is quite busy right now, but they'll get back with you as soon as they can. Listen, this is I passed along what I would consider a hot potato. But this can't be just me. I CC'd this to several people. It can't be just me. It has to be backed up. If they know it's just me, then by you're not doing anything, you've already isolated myself. And like the young lady in California, there needs to be follow-up. We're not very good at that at all. We applaud and we elect the right person to office, and then we go back into our caves and start singing Kumbaya and get in touch with our God feelings. Oh, good for you. Good for you. And then they shoot Charlie Kirks and they burn churches down. And we're still in our caves. We're doing a lot more praying now. How's that working out for us, folks? Will God answer a prayer if you're allowing somebody to be hurt? You smoke cigarettes, 4 packs a day, or you consume a large amount of alcohol. And then at the end of the day, you pray, Lord, please don't let anything happen to me. I don't want lung cancer. I don't want liver failure. Take care of me. I'm a good person. I'm talking to you. I'm respecting you, but you aren't. Not to do is to do, and not to say is to say, folks. This is Action Radio. You need to get involved. You got a young lady in California. You got this gentleman right here who's writing his school board. What about you? Those are opportunities, folks. You can't guarantee you'll win, but you're going to get to know some people that you didn't know before, and you don't know how that's going to turn out. Like what happened to us in Delaware and the Natural Family Month request that we had, where it was effective because a group 5 years ago led the way for us, not even in our state. You got to do, folks. These are opportunities. We're going to read the headlines next. We're going to take a break. We'll read the headlines next. And then we're going to talk to Dick Manasseri and get an update on, we're losing a lot of Christians, but those vacuums are being filled by secular humanists and religions. Stay tuned. BJ Edwards along with Mr. Anderson. Your last call.
Hi, my name is Sophia Miranda, and I just want to thank Leslie first for giving me the chance to come and speak out here. And I know this is a very sensitive topic, but we need to talk about this, and we also need to stay respectful and honest. This walkout is about one thing, which is safety. Bathrooms and locker rooms are private spaces for girls only. Nowhere in the name does it say that a male can be in the girls' bathroom or locker room. We deserve to feel secure in these places, and for some reason the school decides that we don't get that. We don't get that privilege. And this isn't about hate, but it's about boundaries that protect everybody. The Bible reminds us in 1 Corinthians 14:40 that all things should be done decently and in order. Boundaries and order are not oppression, but protection. When we blur those boundaries, we risk the safety and dignity of young women who trust that their private spaces will remain private. Another verse, Genesis 1:27. So God created mankind in his own image, male and female, he created them. From the very beginning, he gave us two distinct sexes, and they are very purposeful, acknowledging this is not hateful, it's biblical. We're called in Ephesians 4:15 to speak the truth in love, and that's what we're doing today. And this is not about rejecting anyone's humanity. It's about standing firm for girls' safety and privacy while treating everyone with respect. At the end of the day, this is not political, it's practical. Every girl should have the right to feel safe in her bathroom, and we can care for people while also keeping boundaries that matter. Thank you.
And I believe we're back. I think Martin wanted to make a quick comment, so I'm going to add you in there, Martin. Go ahead, please. And I'm going to get to the headlines.
God bless you, BJ, for throwing that clip out in front of America. I just want to ask America this, sir. Why are the kids speaking out? Why are the kids speaking out? Where are you, Mom and Dad? Thanks, BJ.
Yeah. Norm, got a comment?
Yeah, one quick one. About 10 to 12 years ago, they were big issue over a third bathroom in the schools.
Yeah.
And one of my poems, I said, I'm amazed at our lengthy discussions. Why is a third bathroom even an issue? If you stand up when you pee, you go to the men's room, and you go to the girls' room if you need a tissue.
All right, Norm. Thank you. I love our panelists. You had something, Mr. Anderson? Nope. No. Yes.
No, my computer's acting funny.
Is it?
Yes, it is. I don't know what's going on here.
Okay. I think if I could find JC, can you add JC? I think he wanted to make a quick comment. And then I got to get to the headlines. Can you find him?
Hello?
Yeah, JC's in a new place now.
Yeah.
It's not a retirement home either.
Yes, it is. Yes, it is.
Yeah, I've watched the eagle 3 out of 4 mornings swoop the river as I'm sitting having my coffee on my deck. It's just beautiful. It's the symbol of freedom.
Yes, sir.
That first morning, that eagle swooped over my house 4 times in a circular motion. I'm looking up saying, there's the symbol of freedom right there.
JC just retired, folks.
My comment on the kids speaking out, Martin, the reason why the kids are speaking out because the parents are afraid to. Adults are scared to death to say anything.
Oops.
That's all I got.
Thanks, brother. Thanks, brother. All right, I'm going to get to the headlines. By the way, I love our Secretary of War. He's going to get folks in shape. I remember when I was in the service, everybody was in shape, but there's no exceptions here. No exceptions. Everyone, commanders, etc., are going to have to be in shape. Do so many push-ups, so many setups. The commander in chief, who is that? Oh, that's Donald Trump. Anyway, I was just thinking about that when they said that. And speaking of the service, Secretary Duffy returns Jesus printing back to prominence after Biden era removal in one of the academies. Good stuff. Good stuff. And folks, please, Charlie Kirk gets curiouser and curiouser. There's now a fourth, or is it a fifth, or a sixth, or 100th theory about what happened to Charlie Kirk. Here's my theory. This is what I'm going to start with. Nothing you hear and half of what you see, okay? Keep that in mind. It appears that a young man protecting his lover did the right thing in his mind and shot a critic of his lover. He's now in jail and will be tried. Let's see what's brought up in the trial before all these experts. Listen, what you first hear, if you buy into some of these theories, you're going to have trouble being objective when this trial comes up. Just fair warning. Fair warning. Battlefield America. I've kind of hinted about this, but this is scary stuff. Trump's war on the enemy within the American people. Posse Comitatus is a law, a policy, where the military cannot get in and interfere with your city, state. Trump's plan to use military in U.S. cities. You need to be barking at this fella. You need to be barking at him. U.S. cities, another headline, will serve as good training ground for Department of War. ICE to buy tool that tracks locations of hundreds of millions of phones every day. 1984. UK Prime Minister Starmer announces that digital ID will be required to get or keep a job. DC police whistleblower Shane Lohman going to prison for testifying against January 6th narrative. Folks, we live in an amoral and unjust nation. Do you want troops in your backyard? Well, yeah, Donald Trump's in control. He's a commander in chief. Yeah, and when that changes, now what? January 6th all over again, but in your backyard. To be forewarned is to be forearmed. Hope I don't get another visit because of the forearm thingy. HHS Secretary Kennedy challenged the efficacy of childhood vaccine schedule shots. Whew, wow. I would hate to be his bodyguard. Elon Musk pushes for Netflix boycott after children's show controversy. Netflix is undergoing pressure as a wave of cancellations spread across the country, fueled by Elon Musk's decisions to end his subscription following outrage over children's programming accused of promoting who has the stage? Trans ideology. Gun-toting Des Moines illegal alien school superintendent arrested. 3 Hamas operative arrested in Germany. Islamist terror in Namachust, England on Yom Kippur leave 2 dead. Democratic candidate running ads in Arabic and Somalian. Dick Manasari, come on down, brother. What do you think about those last 3 headlines, brother? And welcome back to Last Call.
Pretty much covers the waterfront. I think you've got to later in the next hour, you might be continuing the conversation about LGBT. Could I just throw my comment at? I was waiting.
Sure.
I think you need to look at that. You could look at that video. Who was not in that video? Who is the loudest voice in the world for LGBT promotion? And what population in America listens to that voice? Unfortunately, that would be Pope Leo. Pope Leo meets every month with an LGBT group, and therefore your U.S. bishops and priests are not going to criticize, are not going to join these young ladies worried about bathroom safety, because I guess my point here is that is, in my mind, the loudest voice in the world because of its impact, including in America. So I would, an action item would be for people to go and knock on the door at the rectory and ask the parish priest to talk about that video and see what they hear.
Ooh, yeah. Send that. It's not hard to find, folks. Send that link to your pastor, to your priest, to Rome. Good point, Dick. Good point. So what's going on? We're shooting Christians. I've got to, let me put that up here. This is from one of our listeners. My new t-shirt. Yep. I'm a Christian. Are you going to shoot me too? Are you going to shoot me too? Yeah. I'm going to let James Bond in. James, go ahead, sir.
Well, first of all, good program. Thank you, BJ. BJ, listen, I got a Bible study on Wednesday night, okay? Do you hear me?
Yeah.
I got a Bible study. Now stop telling me to go places.
Oh, no, you're really. You're exception to the rule. You're an exception to the rule.
I go to my Bible study, men's Bible study on Wednesday night. And last week there was 18 or 19. And I'll tell you, there were some like-minded men there. I kind of liked a few of them. And the study was very good. But one of these days, very soon, I'm going to get ornery when I promised myself and my wife I would go and just be quiet. I would not try to take charge. But I'm trying my best, trying to change my personality a little bit. But one of these days, I'm going to ask the guys how many have their kids in government schools.
Whoops.
And how many of those schools have bathrooms that boys can go in? And then I'm going to ask, has anybody been to the school board to let them know of your concern? I think that's coming up. It's starting to boil up a little bit. The volcano's starting to rise up a little bit. But hey, I made promises to myself and to my wife, who I love, that I'm not going to get ornery, and I'm just going to remain quiet just a little bit longer. Jim, in all seriousness, the reason we are where we are is mom and dad's, the church.
Mm-hmm.
They haven't shown up for years. And now the rebellion, the revolution comes from Charlie Kirk and kids in California or Texas, wherever they are. So that's the problem. That's where things are. But thank you for letting me come in.
You're quite welcome. And you, when you go to that Bible study, you make sure that everybody just stays in the Bible. Keep it in the Bible, folks. Never go out of the Bible into society. That's not what you're there for. That's not what you're there for. Go ahead, Dick. I agree that it is the family and it is the church. Yes, but one of the problems we have is that we care about people, and that's okay. You should, but do you care enough about them to tell them the truth? And that's where we fall short. We fall short because if we tell them the truth, it may upset them. You shouldn't drink so much. You shouldn't be smoking cigarettes. Another tattoo? Well, I'll hear about that one. Dick, go ahead. Who's filling that Christian gap for us, brother?
Well, we have information that there's tens of thousands of churches that are empty and are closing in America. And of course, that vacuum is being filled by the worldwide movement that's been ongoing for 1,400 years. That what we call that Islam. Your reference to Charlie Kirk, I think, is really important. And we have access to a Charlie Kirk video where Charlie is very specific and says, we do not talk about Islam enough. In fact, we don't talk about Islam. This is Charlie Kirk. His message is that something is wrong. And he proceeds to make several comments, which I'm going to, this is from Charlie now. Immigration without assimilation is an invasion. Imagine Charlie Kirk, with people listening to him, young people, he's saying these words. He says, we are being played by as suckers. We are allowing people into the country who hate America. They will not assimilate, and we are actively bringing them in with the help of people in America, politicians, churches, etc. And he's calling it, because it's immigration without assimilation, he's calling it an invasion. You can think about that. By the way, again, there have been 1,400 years of invasions, so this is not new. The plan is well developed, and it is proceeding in America, and people don't care enough about America to do anything about it. He uses the word metastasize, and he has a great comment. One of his comments is, American women have cats, Muslim women have 8 children. And this is Charlie. He ends the conversation by reminding people that if you're not careful, the foreigner can soon become your master. And then he makes direct reference to the Muslim Marxist mayor-to-be in New York City. Mr. Mamdani is very likely to be the mayor of New York. He is a Muslim, he is a Marxist, and Charlie Kirk, of all people, is talking to young people about that. The reason I think that's interesting is, who else is talking about that? I mean, we really don't have that kind of direct information. And if anybody's wondering, why do we care? Well, if you haven't been paying attention, we have 3,400 mosques already built in America. Most mosques cost at least $10 million to build. We have a retired Air Force intelligence officer that we know, that we have featured in some of our work, that is because he was in the Middle East. He's a Arab-speaking expert, and he goes into the mosques. He's accepted immediately because he knows the customs, he speaks the language, and he is in the mosque for hours at a time, including the prayer sessions. He investigates what's happening in the mosque, what is the literature that's being presented, what are the words spoke by the imam, and who are the guest speakers coming from another country to speak there. Generally, I would say 85% of the mosques in America are graded by him, and again, 400 times are graded as dangerous to extremely dangerous to their immediate community, let alone the country. Unfortunately, fortunately, he writes an affidavit, provides it to local law enforcement and local communities, and so far there have been no actions to address that problem within our midst. BJ, if you want to back up for a minute in case anybody is not aware, and by the way, I've spoken to people who know nothing about Islam, and that included me 10 years ago. I didn't know anything about it, but let's make sure we understand. This is a quote from an article. Islam is not a religion. It's a complete system. Islam has a religious, legal, political, economic, and military components. The religious component is a beard for all the other components. Islamization occurs when there are sufficient Muslims in a country to agitate for their so-called religious rights, when politically correct and culturally diverse societies like America agree to reasonable demands by Muslims for their religious rights, they get all the rest of the components. So Islam is about 15% religion. You pray, you fast, you have holidays, but 85% of it is how you live your life and how you treat other human beings on the earth, including the sanctioning of behavior that's criminal in America, like murder of non-Muslims, rape of non-Muslim women, etc. So the Islamization happens over and over and over all over the world, and then we can see the consequences of it. People may be aware in the recent, just within this week, on Yom Kippur, which is when Jewish people around the world celebrate atonement, repentance. You got to give it to Jewish people. Biblically, they understand unlike the pagan neighbors they had back in the Old Testament days, that God is holy, that there's a definite absolute list of right and wrong called the Ten Commandments. And then when we sin, all of us, a holy God is waiting for repentance. So this is their day of repentance. Well, on their day of repentance in England, in Manchester, a gentleman, a jihadi, meaning somebody who kills in the name of Muhammad, crashed in the church and killed people in the synagogue. Several people were dead. Many people were injured. And what's interesting is you look at the coverage by the police and the media in England, and that's the problem worldwide, including America. They don't know why a Muslim person would enter a Jewish synagogue, crash into it, and start killing people. They just don't know why. So the coverage that I'm referring to makes the following point. Let's be clear. The motivation is no mystery. The attacker's first name is jihad. Again, jihad means the killing of non-Muslims, sanctioned by Muhammad, sanctioned by all the imams in the world, including those who live in America, in 3,400 locations. The target was a synagogue. The ideology is written across 1,400. The ideology written across 1,400 years of Islamic history, and their point is there's no lack of clarity. What's lacking is the courage to speak out loud and do something about it. One other brief component, BJ, if I should keep going or not.
I think we're going to take a break, Mr. Anderson, if you can. We're a little overdue for that. And then we come back. When we come back, Shadim, explain that if you would. When we come back, Shadim, if I'm pronouncing that correctly, Shadim. BJ Edwards along Mr. Anderson. This is your last call, folks.
Good morning. Proverbs 10:4. That's right, 10:4, good buddy. Lazy hands make a man poor, but diligent hands bring wealth. There's so many ways. I should say so many ways. There's only one way. But what do lazy hands bring? I mean, sadness. Your mind. You're not pushing yourself. You're not using all the things that God has given you. So it's not just, it can be poor in health, poor in wealth, poor in life. Diligent hands, what does that bring? It brings learning. It brings knowledge, wisdom that you are creating, the experiences. So it's not just wealth as in financial. It's wealth in all of that other parts of it that come through lessons learned through work, through keeping busy. Lazy hands make a man poor. Diligent hands bring wealth. Where do you
Keeping you informed. This is Last Call with BJ Edwards.
And we're back. Dick, we're talking to Dick Manasseri. Dick, real quick, encapsulated history in terms of your experience with Islam, if you would, just real quick.
Well, like most people, I didn't know how to spell Islam. I knew nothing about it. 10 years ago, I had a family reason to move to Michigan. And you can't live in Michigan without getting slapped in the face with Islam. I mean, you basically think you live in a free country, and you realize women in the Muslim communities, which are loaded in Michigan, women are slaves. And most of us are not going to tolerate slavery. So then you start to learn about it. How could women be slaves in America? And then you learn the rest of the story is, what is Islam? How does it work? How did it get to Michigan? And what's it mean for the rest of the country? So it's basically just having the experience of being there and finding just a few people who would want to learn about it and educate themselves, and one particular pastor who understood it and helped me understand it.
Okay.
There's no scholarly background here. I can't speak Arabic. I've never read the Quran, but I've been on the field.
You've been on the field, brother, and you've been in the game.
Yeah.
And we
also gone through. We've gone through the whole making the Islamization. I mean, we've seen it. We participated in in political events in the state of Michigan, which clearly demonstrate how Islam works. We had a candidate for the governor of the whole state who was a devout Muslim and a Marxist. And we went through that whole process. And in the process of confronting that gentleman and his ideology, we learned a whole lot about the rest of the story. So we see that happening in New York right now. We have a Muslim Marxist mayor, and the guy that ran for governor of Michigan is now running for U.S. senator in Michigan. So, you know, when you get up close and personal, by the way, that gentleman, that candidate in Michigan had a bodyguard, and he physically confronted me personally about what we were doing. So I also experienced the, the potential, damage to people who speak up. Oh, by the way, because we did that, we were labeled by the Southern Poverty Law Center as a official anti-Muslim hate group. Mm-hmm. And let me make it clear, we do not hate individual Muslims. We detest the Islamic ideology. But because we got labeled that way, this is interesting for the rest of the country to understand. We were labeled by one organization. By the way, today I read that the FBI has officially cut ties with the Southern Poverty Law Center, which means up till today, Democrat and Republican FBI administrations have listened to the Southern Poverty Law Center. That means when we were identified as an anti-Muslim hate group back in 2018, the federal government would have put us on a list, because the state of Michigan put us specifically on a list for the Attorney General of Michigan and maybe the FBI to watch what we did. So that intimidation that happened by the individual bodyguard of the candidate became an organized, government-supported maintenance of what we wrote, what we said. And I'm happy to see that the Southern Poverty Law Center under this FBI is being taken out of the government awareness. But for all these years, we've been on a list to be monitored simply because we told the truth about the Muslim candidate in the state of Michigan.
I want to give you a disclaimer here. I've been in political activism for going on 38 years. And if you look at the Southern Poverty Hate List, I'm not on it. I'm disappointed. I really am disappointed. I'm insulted that I'm not on that list. So what is Shadim?
Well, before I do that, let me just make a comment since we talked about Charlie. Charlie Kirk's Turning Point USA was put on the list as a hate group by the Southern Poverty Law Center. So the organization that many people are recognizing how unique and biblically correct he was, and obviously we pray that his organization will grow and continue in that space, but he's the one, his group was identified as a hate group by the Southern Poverty Law Center to be monitored by the FBI. So, I mean, that was my digression. You asked me a question. You know what? That's a word I'm not really familiar with. I did look it up, and it has a Hebrew meaning. Are you thinking of Shahada?
Maybe.
Okay, well, Shahada is definitely a Islamic word. It's the Islamic Declaration of Faith. So it's Shahada. The Shahada. This is it in quotes. There is no God but God, meaning Allah, and Muhammad is the messenger of God. So this is the way. This is the central pillar. So it's not just that. It's that Allah is greater than all gods, and so this is the centerpiece of that. This is the creation of Muhammad, who believed through dreams that he was speaking directly to an angel. Unfortunately, Muhammad also, in addition to saying that, wrote down and behaved that his God, Allah, was okay with the killing of people who didn't pray and submit to that God, Allah, and that Allah was okay with women being property, and that Allah was okay with young girls being married off to men, etc. So I guess this is a very special, but think about that. When people become Muslims, they say the Shahada, there is no God but Allah, and Muhammad is the messenger. So you're supposed to behave in your life the way Muhammad did, which is a pretty dangerous message. 5 times a day in every one of the 3,400 mosques, this is what they're talking about.
He had an 8-year-old wife, didn't he? Muhammad?
He had a 6-year-old wife, but the message is it's okay because he waited till she was 9 to consummate the marriage. I mean, that is, yeah. And so, but he also had many, many wives and treated them in ways that we would consider to be criminal, with domestic violence, etc. So, yeah, he's quite the person to emulate.
Dick, we're going to take a break, and when we come back from the break, I want to finish up a little bit with. I just want to make folks aware of who's filling the Christian gap, and rapidly. They're actually overfilling it. The humanists are having to compete now against Islam, and won't that be different?
Or team up. Either that or they team up with them. Yep.
Well, you understand as well as I do that, yes, one particular religion will appear to team up with the other
for a while.
Once they get the power and the control, historically, sin loy about that, brother. You're out of there. You're out of there.
Precisely.
Yep. Folks, you are not going to get this kind of insight anywhere else. I'm sorry, you're not. It's not coded. We don't have advertisers that we have to respond to. We don't have $1 million sponsors. This is raw facts and information you need to have, and hopefully an attitude that you're going to attain. If you would, Mr. Anderson, take us to break. Do we have a 2-minute warning, Mr. Anderson? I forgot to ask you.
Yes, I do. And I hope we pay particular attention, because it may be a little different than what you might expect. So
okay. 2 minutes, 3 minutes, how long?
It is almost 3 minutes.
Okay. I'll keep that in mind. BJ Edwards along with Mr. Anderson. Folks, this is your last call. Christian Talk Radio with a sting where you can see the difference. Do radio. We're encouragers. We're equipment managers.
Last call with BJ Edwards. Real talk about real life.
This is amazing, and one of the reasons that there's a crack in the foundation. This is from Ohio. 42% of Ohio children were born to unmarried parents in 2022. 40% of Ohio teens are raised in a home with their married mom and dad, only 47%. 53% without their biological mother and father. From 2005 to 2022, Ohio's total fertility rate dropped to 1.7 births per woman. Ohio's marriage rate, which has been in decline for 3 decades, now ranks 41st in the country. As goes the family, so goes the church. As goes the church, so goes the nation. I'm talking about the Christian church. Go ahead, Mr. Manacero. We got a few minutes. Fire away.
Okay, well, I want to make a quick comment. I thank you, Martin, for your comments. And Martin is a fan, as am I, of Annie Cyrus. Annie Cyrus's article in the last week talks about the Islamist in the White House. I don't like the word Islamist. It makes it sound like you're a botanist or something else. We're talking about about Islamic supremacists. So Annie Cyrus writes about the fact that, and I think this is just a danger. We need to watch carefully. Donald Trump does some good things and some really dangerous things. So in the White House is Erdogan, the president of Turkey. Well, Turkey is a Sunni Muslim Islamic state with 98% of the people there are Muslim. And he wants to be the worldwide leader of the Islamic movement, whose goal, according to all their writings and out of his mouth, is worldwide domination. Unfortunately, Donald Trump, who's an incredible deal maker, will make deals with Erdogan, as well as the head of the other Sunni nations, and disregarding that those are countries where Sharia law is practiced, women are property, and they have the evil intention of taking over the world. So I'm going to thank you, Martin, for mentioning Annie Cyrus and the fact that we have a dangerous situation in the White House with the White House embracing of Islam.
Thanks, Martin. JC, you got a comment?
Yep, I put in the chat there, Osama Dakdok. I've heard that man speak probably 5 or 6 times. He has tried to reach our government. They won't listen to him. He even offered them free Qurans that he wrote in English to all 435 members of Congress. If they would just take a free book, he'd come back a year later and explain it to them. They didn't take any. They don't want them. Right. And so we're so sidetracked with all the, I mean, we got to deal with this transgender stuff and the girls' bathrooms and stuff like that. But we're so sidetracked, they're sneaking in the back door, taking over our government and going to control our nation. It's just incredible where it's going. But everybody says, well, I got a neighbor. He's Muslim and he's a nice guy. Yeah, for now he is, but watch out.
Yeah, that's the I'll let you in a minute, Martin. Folks, I started the program off with righteousness. We are no longer a righteous nation. How do we get there? That is through Christianity. But the problem is we can't get from where we're at to Christianity because we've dug a hole quite deep. And we're going to need help getting out of that. And that's why I push so hard with the family and focusing on that. Because that's a good step ladder, a good stepstone to getting us to where we need to get to. But we need to get back to the founders, what they had intended. They knew what they needed. That's why they established this nation. They established it a Christian nation. They established a Christian nation. And unfortunately, Barack Obama is right. We're no longer a Christian nation. And we need to get back. Go ahead.
One more thing real quick. About 6 or 8 months ago at the auction, it's a dealer auction for car dealers only. Everybody was rolling in. People are sitting around and getting ready for the auction to start. I looked over and there's a Muslim over at the doorway of the building of the auction house. He's on the auction property and he throws down his little prayer rug at the entrance door and starts praying. He got his face down on the ground. Everybody's looking like, I looked at the people. I said, aren't you going to say nothing to him? And everybody's like, oh, no, they were scared to death to say nothing. I walked over and they knew I would. So I walked over beside him. I said, hey, buddy. He ignored me. He kept up mumbling. I said, buddy, what are you doing? And then he looked up a little bit at me. I said, listen, Allah is not God. You have no right to. I started lighting him up right there at the door. I said, Jesus is the King of Kings, the Lord of Lords. Allah is a false God. He got upset, walked outside, and everybody looked at me and said, what'd you say to him? And I told him. They were freaking out. Yeah. So then he walked outside and started walking the property line of the fence. It's all fenced in at the auction. He's walking the whole property line. I went upstairs to the owner. I said, Brad, and he's a Christian youth pastor, and he's a Ohio State Buckeyes guy, always fancy clothes. I said, Brad, I told him what's going down. I said, you going to do anything about that? And he was scared to death too. I said, oh, that's right. You're afraid that Muslim might spend some money here at this auction. You can make a profit. So you ain't going to say nothing to him. I let the guy up several times again later in the day. It's just, but everybody was freaking out. Let him do it.
Yeah, it's strange that's strange. Martin, just a couple minutes, and then Nick, I'll let you finish out. We got about maybe about 4 or 5 minutes before our video. And by the way, second hour, we're going to bring a hater on. Yeah, we're going to bring a hater on from Canada. Couldn't find enough here in America, so we had to find another one out of Canada. So second hour, stay tuned. Go ahead, Martin, real quick, please.
Thanks, BJ. That's why if you want to hear the full commentary from Buskman, come to the Buskman Report where I'm not tethered at all. But I appreciate you, BJ. Dick Montessori and JC Jeff Klein, I just want to applaud both of you. First, I want to say to Dick Montessori, God bless you, sir. You don't know anything. You had named it. You don't know anything about Islam. You don't know anything about, well, you do know. Your statement was, I'm very lean on my knowledge. I want to give you an accolade because you, my friend, are willing to run into a burning house, save its occupants, armed only with a water pistol. That's what I saw. So I want to say to America, BJ, that we need more people like Dick Montessori, who says, hey, I may not know all the facts I need to know about this subject, but I know it's killing people. It's going to bring down a nation. And I'm willing to do something, even if it's just a water pistol full of knowledge that I have. God bless you, Dick Montessori. JC, we need more of you. Greater is he who is in JC than he who is in that Muslim praying over that car lot. Okay. Christian pastor dude, I call you out. JC's my hero. You lose. That's all I got, BJ.
Thanks, Martin. Thanks, Martin. Thanks, JC. Appreciate you, brother. Got about 1 or 2 minutes, Dick, if you want to close out with a comment or two, because I can't wait to get to this hater. Gonna have fun.
Okay, well, thank you, Martin. You're very kind. I want to make a real clear statement. I was not saved when I learned about Islam. I met people who were Bible people, and I got to point out one of them. Philip Haney was my first pastor. He taught me about the Bible because he taught me about Islam and the Bible together. Philip Haney is dead now. He was shot in the chest. And so Philip Haney, in my mind, is a Christian martyr, not unlike Charlie. So I've been blessed to get to this point where my life has changed and I now am saved because I believe what's in the Bible, but that wasn't the case before. So I guess what I'm trying to say is thank you for the comments. The tribute belongs to the people that helped me learn what I learned. And that's really the message for everybody. You got to learn this stuff so you can understand it and protect your own families, because nobody's really going to protect you because law enforcement doesn't want to touch this.
Dick Montessori, thank you. Mr. Anderson, go ahead and let's get that 2-minute warning out of the road, because I can't wait to get to our hater in the second hour.
My sermon this morning is Charlie Kirk, TPUSA, and homosex. A warning. Please do not get caught up in the left-right paradigm that has been and continues to be fomented. And understand there are many self-absorbed men who are using the current hoopla and virtue signaling for their own ends, to promote themselves and their organizations. Do not get caught up in the rewriting of who Charlie was and the pronouncements of sainthood and near deification. Understand the connection between TPUSA and the Republican Party. The party changes the platform to be more baby murder and homo-friendly, while TPUSA brings Christians and others into the party. Appreciate the good things Charlie did say, but understand the nation sits under the just judgment of God, and the conservative leaven pushed by Charlie and others will not change this nation. The need is repentance and for the honoring of God's law among men and the governments of men. Men must be pointed to Christ and his law and word. Let us be Christian men and women. Let us do right by men, but let us remember to do right by Christ. I remember when Christians used to worship Jesus, because things had become so bizarre with the deification. The deification had reached bizarre and idolatrous levels, and it was being pushed by the media, by the Republicans, by the conservatives, and by countless Christian ministries and individuals. Everybody had to get their pictures up. So let me address some of these things I mentioned in my email to this congregation. For instance, my statement that he put an open sodomite on stages across our state and gave him millions of dollars to get the vote out for the Republicans. Understand, Scott Presler is an open sodomite. You'll see a video of him shortly. He was put on stages before Christians and conservatives across our state and was introduced at these gatherings by TPUSA people on TPUSA's payroll were introducing him. And Charlie Kirk, he doubled down. The very next year, 2024, last year, TPUSA gave $5 million to the open sodomite, Scott Presler, to again run all over our state here and put him on stages all across our state in front of Christian and conservative people to get votes for the Republicans.
keeping you informed. This is Last Call with BJ Edwards.
Get my volume back up there. You always come up with some interesting videos, Mr. Anderson. Interesting videos. Food for thought. Maybe there's a fine line between practicality and absolutism.
Where we put our attention, you know, we got left hand and right hand attached to the same body, right?
Mm-hmm.
And sometimes the left hand is pretty busy getting our attention while the right hand's doing something we have no awareness of. And you know, our enemy is the Antichrist. And the Antichrist has been around since John wrote about it 2,000 years ago. And if you're not for Christ, you're in the wrong camp, period.
Can you be gay, acknowledged, and still acknowledge that Christianity is the way to go? Can we do that? Can you have a spokesperson that's gay saying Christianity is right? Can we do that? The answer to that question is yes. Should we do it? The answer to that question is yes as well. We need to be very careful about our purist approaches. If
when we're talking about righteousness,
mm-hmm.
we're talking about righteousness and holiness. Our God is holy, and He is righteous, and He is the eternal judge.
Yep.
And we walk a fine line. We got to be careful, you know, who we fellowship with, and I get very concerned about these things that can turn your head left or right. So I don't know. I'm rethinking a lot of things, but can you be gay and be Christian?
I didn't say that. Can you be
I know
gay?
You didn't. I know you didn't.
Yep. And that's interesting. Maybe we'll invite Bill Watcott into the conversation. Bill, come on down. Bring him in, Mr. Anderson. Bill was born in Canada. Now, there's a lot I can say about him, but here's one thing that concerns me. He didn't move. He stayed in Canada. Bill's been very active. He's a businessman, and Bill.
Hey, is there a problem on my side? I can't seem to get my picture up there.
Yeah, I don't know.
Huh. Oh, mine, yeah, I can talk without it, I guess, but it's nice if you guys can see me.
Yep. I don't know whether you need to go out and come back in again. If you wait for the camera to hook up, maybe you didn't wait long enough for the camera to come in. But I thought I saw you there earlier.
Minutes, yeah. Do you want me to check out and come back in?
Yeah, go ahead. Let's see what happens.
Yeah.
Wait for the camera to get on.
Come on down.
Yeah, come on down. Bill has been active. He's a brave man. He didn't start off his life as a Christian and got into a lot of trouble. Yeah. Bill is very intelligent, very witty. And what he did is he entered into a gay pride parade several years ago and was handing out Christian verses in a very unique way. And when he comes back on, maybe we'll let him explain that. And an effective way. And because it was effective, Canada, the gay pride movement, took him to court. Now in Canada, it's a different situation. You can, in America, if you're found not guilty, that's it. Game, set, match. You don't go back to court. In Canada, they can go, well, you know what? We forgot to do this, or we should have done that. So we're going to take him back to court. Imagine that. Serious charges, by the way, for productively opposing the LGBTQ movement. Did we get him back in, Mr. Anderson? I don't know.
We got him, but not the picture.
Okay. I don't know. Well, Bill, the only other suggestion I might make to you is unplug that camera and plug it back in, if that's what you're.
Yeah, it's unfortunately not plugged. It's built right into the laptop.
Okay.
I might have to go to the shop and have them look at it. It seems beyond my capabilities.
Martin, you got any suggestions on that in terms of what he might do?
Try unmuting your camera on the StreamYard function there, Bill.
Okay.
And also go to your settings on your computer. It should be on your right. Pull it down and you can put unmute or whatever it is, the little slash on your camera. There might be an icon on there too, brother. So check that out. But while you're doing that, Bill's doing that, I would like to enter into the record, BJ, author George Carneal. He wrote a book called From Queer to Christ.
Yep.
It's about his struggle as a homosexual male. He lived the LGBTQ lifestyle for much of his lifetime. He was raised by a Baptist minister, realized that he was attracted to little boys, not just little girls, when he was a child. And I highly recommend this read, Christians, to kind of answer the question that BJ arose. Can a man or a woman be a Christian while they're attracted to their same sex? And if you read this book, it's going to open up your eyes. So I highly recommend it. George Carneal's From Queer to Christ. And you can find him at georgecarneal.com. That's JeorgeCarneal, GeorgeCarneal.com.
Thank you, Martin. And by the way, George is going to be this entire month, the 4 weeks, we're going to have folks like David Arthur, George Carneal, and our guest today, if we can get him on. The two previous ones were in the lifestyle or death style, if you want to call it that. And what we're doing is there's nothing but positives going on this month. This is supposedly LGBTQ History Month. And our schools are doing a lot of the celebrations, although some of them won't admit to it, but they're allowing the celebrations to have at least that in the schools. And what we're doing is a counter to that. And hopefully we'll start today with Bill Watcott. Maybe we just have to do the voice, and that's fine. That's fine. But we want to offer an option to what is going on. And I read Linda Harvey, a good friend, Linda Harvey. We had her on there a couple of weeks ago. These are some fictions about the LGBT History Month. And it's very interesting. First of all, they suppose that Sodom and Gomorrah never happened. Sodom and Gomorrah never happened. Okay? Born the way is a fact. Born that way is a fact. Again, this is going on in your public schools. This is going on in your community. Hitler and Nazis exemplify bigotry that arose in a Christian culture. They've got to get that Nazi in there, okay? They got to get that hate in there. Well, they're just like Nazis, so go after them. The right is the cause of most of the violence in America, with little coming from LGBT people, the ones that just called the right Nazis. Of course, nobody's going to react to that, right? Removal of homosexuality from psychological disorders list was long overdue justice. And by the way, that really opened the door, the flood door, for what we're seeing today. Just absolutely amazing. And let's see, AIDS became everyone's risk. These behaviors are not a threat to children. LGBTQ behavior is not a threat to children. Suicide rate is up among children, by the way. There are no ex-homosexuals, transgenders. They deserve no voice. We're going to bring them on our program and give them a voice. Same-sex marriage is an expression of equality. Equality, I'm sorry. That's what it says there. Greece and Rome prove that homosexuality is acceptable and inborn, and it also proves that that is the crack in the foundation of civilizations. One of the cracks that took them down, by the way. Many more points, this is from Linda, on the historical timeline, because there is no end of the horror stories how transgender suddenly became a noble cause, legitimizing the mutilation of children when it's actually a grim money-making machine. Amazing, amazing, amazing. Folks, are you, Mr. Anderson, is there something up?
We lost Bill. I don't know.
I think he's trying to come in.
Yeah,
and
I've got a comment. I've got a comment on your video that you showed. If you want to do it,
go ahead.
Well, I think the video that you showed, Mr. Anderson, is super important. The gentleman was talking about be careful with God bless Charlie Kirk. Let's give Charlie an A- for his life and his courage. On the other hand, we have to be on the lookout for a new version of Charlie 2.0 and Turning Point USA, because as this person talked about it, there are organizations that are grabbing the Charlie message, connecting it to their own, and in fact deifying Charlie Kirk. So let's watch carefully for a couple of indicators. I'll be brief because Bill's back, but we have to be careful. There's a cardinal from the Catholic Church that said that Charlie Kirk was today's St. Paul. There's a Catholic bishop that said that Charlie was Christ-like. So we have to be very, very careful as this group grows with 175,000 new applications. There is a potential coup because of the connections to the Catholic Church. Erica is a Catholic, his wife. Erica goes to daily mass. Very few Catholics go to daily mass. And there's a connection to, Charlie indicated that we undervalue Mary as Protestant, as Bible people, and that we should be more aware of Mary as a role model. So all I'm saying is be on the lookout. God bless Charlie. Let's try to keep true to Charlie and his messages, but be careful because of the potential ecumenical move around Charlie that'll blend all the woke and Catholic ideas with the Bible ideas that Charlie talked about.
That's great. We already have enough gods.
Well spoken, brother. Yeah. I agree with you wholeheartedly, and it's very important. And to get that full sermon by Matt Trewhella, a man I respect a lot.
Yep.
You can go to a YouTube video, Mercy Seat, and hear the entire sermon, which he points out some very important things. I think it's worth the time.
Bill Woodcock, come on down, brother. We just have your voice, and that's fine. Welcome to Last Call. Can you hear us okay?
I can hear you fine. Can you hear me?
Yes, sir.
I uploaded a decent avatar from when I was at Queer City Cinema. Do you guys have that?
Don't know.
Well, you'll either see that or it'll just be black where I'm supposed to be.
Yeah, we've got a circle and your mic's there, and that's fine. That's fine.
We got a picture of you in your tutu.
Oh, that's a good one too. Yeah, with that naked sodomite there. Yeah.
Bill, historical wise, why don't you update our audience in terms of what has happened to you? You got bit by the righteous bug some time ago, and one of the things that really bothers you is the LGBT community and the movement they're having in Canada. And explain to the folks how user friendly is Canada to the LGBTQ community.
I would think, I even hate the word community. I prefer subculture. Community makes it sound like they're like a normal community, families and whatnot. And they're really not. They're a bunch of fetishes and, very dysfunctional people, but they've gotten together as an activist movement, and they've certainly taken over neighborhoods, but they don't operate like normal communities. Canada, I think, might be the most homosexual activist friendly country on the planet Earth, bar none. We might even beat out a lot of Western Europe.
That's I would see America as a chief competitor.
No, definitely not.
Whoa.
I can say with some degree of authority, Canada is light years ahead of the United States. I've been to homosexual friendly LA and Los Angeles, and I didn't see a fraction of pride flags that I would see in a city like Toronto or Vancouver. And even in Los Angeles, as a Christian, I had a lot more free speech and capacity to be myself than in any Canadian city. People who leave Canada and go to the United States, Canadians, to a person, if they're Christians, they really believe they made an improvement in their life. I've met no one who left Canada and moved to the United States, and I know many who've moved to the United States who don't claim that they're not more free.
Interesting. What about the schools? I assume you have government-run schools in Canada?
The majority of schools are government-run, and there's a small number of private schools. Yeah, my former stepson, I tried to put him in a Christian school, and he refused. When you went to the high school that he was going to, the public high school, and we're talking a small town. We're not talking Toronto or Vancouver. We're talking about a town that would probably be, just think of a town in the United States with 15,000 people, maybe Fairbanks, Alaska. It's kind of an out-of-the-way place. It was called Lacombe, Alberta, which is supposed to be one of the most conservative counties in Canada. And as soon as you walked into that school, there was a pride flag on the administration desk. And then there was a little covenant, if you want to call it that, where you promise not to bully anyone and to refer to everyone by their
preferred pronouns, I think.
Canada.
We lost you there for a second.
Sorry, where did you lose me?
Something where I think you were going to say preferred pronouns.
Yeah, this small town conservative, and I put in quotation marks conservative, high school, at their front desk of their administration office, they had a pride flag with the Black Lives Matter transgender, I guess it's called the Pride Progress flag. And then under that, they had a covenant where when you walk into this school, you promise not to bully anyone and refer to everyone by their preferred pronouns. So that's a small town school. That is not a big city school. It gets a lot more nutty there.
Are your schools union run?
Yeah, public schools are. There's a Christian school where I was doing some janitorial for them. That was definitely not unionized, and there was Bible verses rather than pride flags. But that's like 1% of our education system, and praise God that it's there. All the public schools in Canada would be under a teachers union. They're generally provincial teachers unions, and they're all far left. I'd actually use the word communistic. Yeah,
well,
union.
Yeah. I sort of kind of understand what you're talking about. It's the same control as here. It's union controlled, and it's very consistent. You mentioned small towns. It doesn't make any difference whether it's a small town or a large town. They're union run, so you're going to see what you see regardless of what school system you're in.
Yeah, and I don't know that I can blame the union for the Pride Progress flag and nutty covenant that you're going to call people fake pronouns in the administration office. That's obviously the administration. That's not the union. That's the people who are administrating the school wanting to do this. So they're actually lockstep with the union when it comes to the LGBT movement.
What's your current status, Bill? And how did you get here? To that status?
My current status, you mean for court or life?
Yeah.
Or
for court, and we get into life later, but for court.
Yeah, in 3 weeks, I'll be back in court for a week. And I am going to send out a Zoom link in the coming days when my lawyer sends it to me. The Crown doesn't have a strong case, and that doesn't mean much because our courts, I think, in Canada are a little bit more corrupt than in the United States. So I think we do get really nutty and unjust judgments that go against case law. And I think that's altogether possible in my case. But I think the Crown would like to have as credible of a case as they can. And seeing as my flyer that I'm being criminally prosecuted for your viewers who don't know, I was charged with a hate crime for putting out gospel flyers criticizing our former Prime Minister, Justin Trudeau, and criticizing the Toronto Pride Parade, ungodly Pride Parade, homosexual Pride Parade. And the flyer had some Bible verses pertaining to morality and eternal life. And then it had some medical statistics on the risks of the homosexual lifestyle that's inherent to the lifestyle. And I was charged with a hate crime, and the prosecution was asking 18 months in prison. And Canada is notorious for lenient sentences when it comes to actual crimes, much more lenient than the United States. Anyways, I was acquitted, and the prosecution appealed, so I am a double jeopardy case. I'm going back on trial again for the same crime. And in order to bolster their case this time around, they want to introduce human rights tribunal judgments where I was convicted in years gone by, some of them 25 years old. And they want to use that to bolster their case that I'm a hateful person and therefore should be convicted of a hate crime, even though those human rights tribunal judgments are dealing with flyers that I didn't even distribute at the Pride Parade in 2016. These were flyers I distributed on issues like homosexual activism in public schools in 2021. They want to introduce those to make the argument that my current flyer is a hate crime, which is really a specious argument.
What's your current flyer? What's so bad about that?
I think you've seen the flyer. It's up on the Mass Resistance website. I'm 10 years into this now, and looking at that flyer, I'm not allowed to show it to you as part of my bail conditions, but it's on Mass Resistance if anyone wants to see it. A very good organization.
Yep.
And I don't see anything wrong with my flyer. I think it's in perfect harmony with my evangelical Christian worldview. I think it's substantially accurate, and there's nothing hateful except for hating the sin of homosexual behavior and politicians, using their office to promote that ungodly lifestyle. Mm-hmm. I think that's a public good. I really think my flyer is a public good.
But you're telling the truth.
Well, that's what makes it good. It was a truthful flyer, and I was accused of lying, and they actually brought on experts in my first trial who perjured themselves under oath, and they were called out as such by the judge, who was not my friend. They actually had to lie about my flyer, and that vindicated my flyer even more. They had an infectious disease expert that had the audacity to say I was dishonest when I said there's hepatitis outbreaks in the homosexual community. And I had a lawyer who was not a Christian. He was a Jew, but he was really good, John Rosen, who had some investigators dig up papers that this infectious disease expert wrote expressing concerns about hepatitis outbreaks in gay bathhouses. She validated what I said in her own papers, but lied under oath that hepatitis wasn't a problem, which, being an infectious disease expert, she demolished her own credibility.
Amen. Bill, yeah. Current status with you're heading into court, what, the next 3 weeks?
Yeah, the 27th Monday I'll be there for 5 days.
Okay, now that's a full trial?
No.
Again?
Those are hearings to introduce previous human rights tribunal convictions as evidence in my current trial.
Okay. So we're
obviously opposing that. That's what the hearings are about. Yeah.
So whether it should be admitted or not, is that the basic theme there?
Yeah. Like, does my human rights conviction in 2013 have anything to do with my trial in the year 2026? That's when I'm going on trial again.
And your human rights conviction was for?
Putting out flyers. What were they? Sodomites in our public schools was one. The other one was Keep Homosexuality Out of Our Public Schools, which I distributed way back in 2021. And that was arguing that homosexual activism should not be allowed in Saskatchewan public schools.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so it really has very little to do with my flyer criticizing the Toronto Pride Parade in 2016. These are different flyers.
Mm.
Yeah. But
Yes.
they're saying it shows that I have long, deep-seated, their words, anti-gay animus.
Yeah. As versus
Yeah.
pro-Christian.
Yeah.
And I explained early on in our program that what has happened in America and in the world actually is that there's a stage, a world stage, and the LGBT community was not on the stage at all. And the first thing I asked was, okay, well, we want to be on the platform, but we'll stay in the back and we'll just take care of the sound maybe, or just sit there and behave ourselves. And the next thing you know, they're on the stage. Well, okay, we just want to be a part in the play, just one part. We want to be accepted, just one part of the play. That's all we want. And the next thing you know, they're asking for the lead role. And by the way, we want to write the plays as well. Meanwhile, Christians, conservatives, all the other isms are floating off the stage. So we have the point today where there's nothing up there but the LGBTQ community. They're writing the plays. All the players are them. And don't you dare ask to be in, because that's hateful. And that's the stage that you entered and you tried to play a part in, and their reaction is, oh no, let's make an example out of Bill Whatcott. Is that a fairly good explanation of what's happening?
Yeah, it is. And in Canada, I don't even fully fault the Christian community, and that is a community, for being off the stage, because we've been actively removed. You know, if you're a Christian in government and you say something like I support traditional marriage, not a very strong statement at all, and you put that on your Facebook, you can actually be fired out of your job. And once you're fired out of the federal government for being a so-called homophobe, you'll never get another job in government. So, you know, it's a very life-altering thing for people. And yeah, so Christians here have been forced off the stage. One thing your viewers should know is in the last 2 to 3 years, Canada has had 135 churches burned, as in arsoned, across the country.
Ooh.
And did you know that?
No.
No, we're also talking some fairly large churches like the Catholic Church in Morinville, Ontario. And isn't it something that if a Muslim mosque gets attacked in Canada, and that rarely happens, but I guess it did happen once or twice, you probably saw that in your news down in the States, but 135 churches have been attacked, and our government refuses to talk about it. There is Christian media and conservative media up here that talks about it quite a lot, but Canada is starting to resemble a little bit places like Syria and places in Africa.
Yes.
Yeah. That's a lot of churches. A lot of them small towns where it's the only church in the town, and that's probably done by anarchists like Antifa, and just a terrible anti-Christian. What would be the word? A very, very dark period of history is coming over Canada, where, you know, we're going to be actively suppressed and silenced. So it isn't entirely our fault that we're not on the stage. We're actually being removed violently.
We relinquished it. We relinquished it, and trying to get back on is where the violence happens.
Yeah, I don't know in Canada. Yeah, we probably relinquished it. That might be fair. But I think we were pushed off a lot more aggressively than in the United States. Like in the United States, I could have a job as a bus driver. In Canada, when they look at my Facebook, I really can't. You know, I'd have to hide my Christian identity and change my name to enter the mainstream. I wouldn't have to in the US.
We're going to take a break, Mr. Anderson. If you can find some other pictures of Bill to maybe put up there, that would be great. BJ Edwards along Mr. Anderson. This is your last call, folks. The walls are closing in from the north, from the east, from the west, and from the south.
Faith, discussion, and so much more. Last Call with BJ Edwards.
And we are back with Bill Whatcott, a Christian gentleman that is fighting the fight in Canada. Bill, do you have Christian friends? Are they allowed to associate with you, or is there a problem with that?
You know, the Lord has blessed me with a few friends. At age 58, you know, and this has nothing to do with politics. It's just the way life is a few of my closest friends have died, unfortunately. So it seems that my life is a little more lonely than what it was a few years ago. But you know, the Lord has given me a few friends. But there's not a big Christian community up here, and then a lot of Christians that do go to church, they're definitely a little bit more tame, let's say. They're not gonna join that picture you got up there is when I infiltrated the Vancouver Pride Parade. And by the way, that guy with the bicycle helmet on, his name is Herbert Chandra Spencer, and he's a New Democrat Party cabinet minister and an open homosexual. I'm in on photo opping with him, and he was on my website. I had that picture up there for years. He wasn't very happy with that. He actually knew who I was, and he had no idea that he was photo opping with me there. He's criticized me and wanted me prosecuted for hate speech, actually. Yeah, in Canada, there's not a lot of Christian activists, not a lot of street preachers, but you know, God has a witness everywhere, and there is a few. And I'm thankful that there's a few, and I believe that his church will be persevered, even in an environment like Canada, until he comes again.
We really don't have any choice, do we, Bill? I mean, we have to know to do good, not to do it. To them, that's a sin.
That is a sin, the sin of omission.
Yep.
Yeah.
And there's a price to be paid, which that would be a total, probably a lifetime discussion of why that price would need to be paid. Yeah, I understand sin. I get that, but just wow, being a Christian seems to be a dangerous occupation, and one that
a little more dangerous up here than in the USA. You might feel a little bit persecuted, but you're looking to me to be like where Canada was in the 90s, and that looked really good from sitting where I am now.
Well, are Christians getting shot in the street like they are here in America?
Thankfully, we don't have a lot of that, but Christians have been physically assaulted, and the police have refused to investigate on multiple occasions.
Right.
Yeah, and you know, in all fairness, in the United States, you got 350 million people and about 500 million guns, and not that many Christians have been shot in the street. And if it does happen, at least your police are investigating. We have a guy named Billboard Chris who had his wrist broken by Antifa, and the police just out and out refused to investigate the case at all.
Yeah. Bill, this has been costly to you, not just from a legal standpoint, paying lawyers, but from a personal, vocational standpoint. Tell the folks how this has affected your ability to make a living.
Well, when I got into the pro-life movement, and I started mainly with abortion, although I was always opposed to the homosexual agenda, I was actually a young nurse entering Canada's middle class, which, by the way, even for non-Christians, middle class is slipping away up here. We got very high inflation, very high unemployment. You know, we had a lot of businesses that were very, would be the word, vulnerable to trade decisions made by the United States, and tariffs are effectively shutting them down. And I don't blame Trump for that. He's president of the United States, and the manufacturing is coming home, which is good for you guys and what he should be doing. because we've had socialist leaders who have not diversified our trade routes, are in any way, shape, or form helped our resource industries. In fact, they've actively hindered them. We don't have many options up here, so those chickens are coming home to roost. Now, because of my activism, I really can't get a job anywhere in government. And in Canada, government is a full 40% of our jobs, literally.
Whoa.
4 out of 10 people work for government. And yeah, it's a huge tax burden, unsustainable. And we're learning that. And then in the private sector, when you get larger businesses, especially banks, auto manufacturers, things like that. Unfortunately, our auto manufacturing industry is going anyways for everybody. But yeah, I really can't get a job there either, because they do a social media check, HR departments, and big businesses won't hire me. So mostly I've been self-employed, doing carpets and things like that. And I actually did get myself a nice bus job back in 2016. And then that was when I got charged with a hate crime. So even though I was acquitted of that hate crime, unfortunately I was fired and never got that job back. It is what it is.
No regrets.
No, I don't have regrets. I have had some questions at different points. And a pastor friend who was a very dear friend of mine, Robert Munoz, he died last year. He says, well, Bill, you had an interesting life. And I thought about that, because I said, yeah, I don't have my defined benefit pension. You know, I don't have any kind of wealth in this world to speak of much, but I've had a very interesting life. Who else has marched in the Toronto Pride Parade as a Christian and handed out 3,500 gospel flyers, and then been subject to 104 million class action lawsuit that the Prime Minister himself signed on to as a victim, and then became the subject of a Canada-wide arrest warrant, and then have 2 criminal trials over it? That really does make for an interesting life. And like, that's one heck of a good gospel flyer to get all that. You know, I could have been a jihadist and detonate myself in the parade, and the legal proceedings would have been long over.
Interesting. I've got a quote up there. One man with courage is a majority, and that's from Thomas Jefferson. Other than Last Call, whatever connections have you been able to make, Bill, as a result of your efforts to assure righteousness in your nation?
I would say one of my most loyal friends and supporters has been Mass Resistance. I got to be grateful for those guys. They stuck with me for years.
Good group.
Yeah, and then I guess the Holy Trinity's been there for me. You know, in a very intangible but very real way. So, yeah, LifeSite News has done a few stories. They're kind of a Canadian/American outlet. They have offices in both countries, I believe. Yeah, God has given me what I needed, and I really can't complain about that.
Like I said, no regrets.
No.
I mean, it's a blessing that you get to talk to BJ. I mean, that in itself, I mean, very few people have that opportunity.
Well, praise the Lord that I had that opportunity. Yeah, and I got to meet you in person once. That was pretty cool.
Yeah, that was neat. That was incredible.
It really was, because people who are charged with felonies usually aren't allowed to leave the country. And I actually told them that it was to go visit pro-family people.
You know? Well, yeah, that was it.
I'd actually give the okay for that, when that's what I'm being charged with, is being a pro-family activist. You guys are considered unsavory by the courts up here. They actually gave me permission to go visit all of you. It's like, you know, you can usually only leave the country if your mother dies or something, and then it's only for 1 or 2 days, and you have to be back.
They were probably
a 3-week holiday. That was pretty good.
They were probably glad to get rid of you for a while.
Well, they made sure I came back. They told me I had to.
You broached the subject of family, and families are under attack. And I know that you've had pressure within the family and within the neighborhood. Can you touch on that? Look, this is not easy, folks. This is not easy. And when you're dealing with family members, that's love and that's closeness like no other. And I know women are very security oriented. And can you talk to that at all, Bill?
Geez. That one, I don't want to say that it's because of my activism, although in some ways it definitely was because of my worldview. Now, I've had a couple destroyed marriages, and to be clear, I do not believe divorce is a good thing.
Yep.
And my earlier marriages, it was mostly my fault, and it was more my sin that wrecked the marriages than anything else. So I wouldn't want to give the impression that somehow my previous destroyed marriages was a result of heroism on my part. It wasn't. It was a result of my sin and bad judgments and compounded bad judgments on top of that. And, in one or two cases, maybe the wives had issues too, even from different issues they had before they ever met me. My last wife left, really, it was the most bizarre fight. And like I've had a lot of growth in my life, and I believe I did a good job. I really believe I did. And I was fighting for my children, and I was like, they were stepchildren, but I treated them like my own. And I certainly let the wife know that I loved her. But yeah, the big issue was our son wanting to go to the public school, and I was adamantly opposed to that. And strangely, my wife, my estranged wife, I wouldn't say we're ex-wife yet, but it looks like that's where it's going. She really was against public schools, when we met. Unfortunately, she is very differential to the 16-year-old, and she believed that a Christian school would ruin that kid's life because he needs friends and he needs soccer. He went to the high school and wound up on marijuana the first year there. And in Canada, cannabis is much more prevalent than the U.S., although I know it's a big problem in the U.S.
It's growing. Excuse the pun.
Yeah, you're catching up to Canada. Probably in places like Colorado, it's the same where it's legalized and you got stores. Yeah, it's terrible. Yeah, and then there was the issue of chores and things, which I worked harder than anyone, but I really believe the kids had to do them. So it wasn't so much the LGBT activists issue that broke us up. It was just a 16-year-old rebelled, and he really didn't want to follow Christ. And I couldn't make him follow Christ, of course.
Yep.
I don't believe in jihadism, but I really believed he needed to be in a Christian school. And unfortunately, the wife had so much anxiety. One day I went for a nap. I didn't see the marriage coming to an end. When I woke up, they were gone, and I just thought they went to a store. And then around 10 o'clock at night is when I figured out they left. And so, yeah, that's a hard pill to swallow, and I look over it, and I don't think I did anything biblically to deserve that. But, we do live in a fallen world, and I guess there was secular pressures. In Canada, it's hard to be a Christian. In Canada, it's hard. It's hard to even defend something like Christian schools. There's tremendous pressure on young kids that they want to be a part of the world. And unfortunately, if the parents aren't unified, things can break up. That's kind of the way I see it.
I get it. Dick Manasari, did you have a comment or a question?
Yeah, first of all, I want to say what a wonderful conversation this is. This is a real human being doing really brave things, a leader in the remnant. I think part of this message is the remnant is small and it's not getting bigger. Now, I have a question. Given all that we've heard about Canada, there's other things we could talk about in terms of Canada's position in the world or what it supports. But I'm just curious, Bill, why do you think the President of the United States has actively discussed annexing your country and pulling it into America? What do Canadians think about that?
We need another California.
Canadians get hysterical if they're on the left, really hysterical. In fact, I wish I knew you were going to ask that question. I would have sent BJ Edwards pictures of boomers most of them government employees or retired government employees up here, running around on the street with their elbows up in the air, because that was allegedly the way we were going to stop Donald Trump's invasion of Canada, was by putting elbows up like a hockey fight. And so you see these 60 and 70-year-olds, and they almost look like chickens flapping the arms as they're chanting elbows up around downtown streets in front of various buildings. And that would have been an excellent picture to show. In Alberta, there's a substantial minority, and that's where I live, that actually want to be part of the United States. And I've heard that some high-ranking leaders in the Alberta separatist movement have actually talked directly with the Trump administration, and they've gotten to the highest echelons of the Trump administration, talking about bringing Alberta possibly into the United States, or we might be a sovereign nation, a very small one with close ties to the United States. Trump is a difficult man to read. He is very contradictory, as you guys were discussing before I got on. He's done some really good things. He's done things that concern me. I would vote for him in a heartbeat. That's where I stand. I've actually had a couple Americans unfriend me because they were never Trumpers. I'm a Trumper, I suppose, but he's not Jesus, and I'm under no illusion. When he talks about annexing Canada or Greenland, sometimes I just think he's being a troll, but other times he pushes it enough that I think he might be halfway serious. Of course, I have a better understanding of the American government than most Canadians. Even if the guy's dead serious, you're not going to get Congress to sign off, I don't think, on annexing Canada. I'm really not worried about seeing American tanks roll over our border. Some Canadians literally think American tanks are coming here, and they run around with their elbows up as a defense. I kid you not. And they are dead serious. We've banned American alcohol in Ontario as a defensive mechanism against potential invasion, which is silly.
Wow.
Yeah, that is silly. And they have talked, some of our politicians, about needing to, we had Chrystia Freeland, the deputy prime minister. Now, as you guys probably know, Canada has no military to speak of. I believe our military is the smallest in NATO, save Luxembourg, even though we're a big country. People also don't know that we used to have 2 aircraft carriers, so we actually rivaled present-day China. And we fought really, really hard in World War II, and we were greatly, greatly respected. And some Germans in Normandy said they preferred fighting Americans over Canadians because we were outdoorsmen and actual heterosexual men. And Americans were hard fighters. There was no one who would have ever said otherwise. But we were just that tough. Now we're woke. Half of our army is non-binary. I kid you not. That's not hyperbole. We literally have freaks in our army.
That's to be expected.
Incredibly small, and we got nothing to defend ourselves against if Nigeria invaded us. Never mind Canada or USA. But Chrystia Freeland during the last election said we need to make an alliance with France and the UK to fall under their nuclear umbrella against Donald Trump. So Canada has no capacity to make a bomb. And this crazy woman floated in the middle of an election that we can just borrow France's bombs, which are totally dilapidated, and I don't even know that they're intercontinental. And they could launch a nuke at Washington on our behalf if Washington marches into Ottawa. We're that silly. It's really that silly. I'm ashamed to have to tell this to your American audience. But in Alberta, where I am, there's a substantial number of Albertans that are pro-American. And that remains in spite of the media propaganda. And a lot of that hysteria has been whipped up by the media. And Canadians are a gullible lot, so we fall into that. I'm hoping that it's mostly superficial, but some of it seems to be kind of staying a lot longer than I wanted, this anti-Americanism that's up here. I fear Canada is a lot more communistic than the United States. And I think actors like China have infiltrated our media and government. And in some ways, they are indirectly whipping up this anti-Americanism.
Thank you.
It's stealth. It's thanks, Dick. It's stealth.
It is stealth. It very much is.
Yeah, but it's happening in America too, as well as the stealth. Listen, you're listening to B.J. Edwards along with Mr. Anderson. Your last call, our guest Bill Watcott. Bill, I want to get back to the subject at least for a little while. We got about 5 minutes. The LGBTQ movement nationwide, North American wide, has really got a stranglehold, if it would appear to have a stranglehold, on any kind of common sense. And I started the program off today talking about righteousness and how America was established as a Christian nation.
Mm-hmm.
And how, again, speaking of the stage, we got off the stage and elevated the LGBT community to the stage. Now they won't let us back. We can't even talk about letting us back on the stage because it's hate speech. And they've done a great job in terms of turning that around. But we can also use that against them because they're the ones that claim that they were discriminated against, that they were being hated, yet they call us haters, they call us names. So we should be able to use that from the prone position we're in right now and lift ourselves back up on the stage individually, corporately, and over time. But we need to regain that. And I'm recommending that we use their methods, which is America, and I'm sure Canada is the same, love victims. So let's make ourselves, we are the victims. We can't have Christianity. We can't go to Washington, D.C. and complain. We can't stand in speech in public. It's anti-Christian here, anti-Christian there. So we are the victims now. We are the minority, regardless of how we got here. So that's my recommendation about how we take that stage back. Any quick comments?
Yeah, I guess I'd take a little different tact.
Okay.
Certainly in the realm of polemics, we can argue we're victims, and that's true. There's not been 135 gay bars burned in this country. There's not been 135 mosques burned in this country.
Mm-hmm.
There has been 135 churches, and the little bit of media coverage that was there, the media not even implied, it was fairly overt that Christians deserve that. That's because we abused all these Indians and murdered these Indians in residential schools. Yep. And in actual fact, there's not a single body of a Native child that has died at the hands of a priest or a nun or a minister. Some have died of pneumonia and died of, what was that common disease? Tuberculosis last century. But white people were dying for those reasons. And white people are in some of those unmarked graves. They were unmarked because we had no money. We made little wooden crosses that have deteriorated over the century. It's just total blood libel. But now that being said, so we could argue that we are the victims of hate speech and hate crimes. I think as Christians, we got to remember that we got the joy of the cross. And St. Paul was not a whiner. So generally, when gay activists call me names, and they do, I don't even respond. I just keep going with the message that I'm going with. And when they say you can't protest, I show up. Like, that was the whole purpose of me going into the Toronto Pride Parade, is they took away my right to free speech in a Watcott decision in the Supreme Court of Canada. They said my speech was hate speech and that I had no place in the public square. Well, I applied in the Pride Parade to march as an openly Christian man, and then they hatefully banned me from their parade. So then I applied as a gay zombie cannabis consumer. And then I marched and put out my gospel message anyways. Of course, they didn't figure out what I did until it was all done. And then that's when I became the subject of a $104 million lawsuit. But I kind of think that we just have to focus on the message, telling the truth, kind of ignoring some of the noise. When the other side is creating noise, just keep telling the truth. And that does get through to some people. Like, the last 30 years of my life has not been totally wasted. When I was sitting in jail, I had a bigger church that I was running out of my jail cell than the liberal chaplain who had access to the entire prison. I
Not
think
so
she had 450 inmates and she'd get like 7 on a Sunday. I had 50 inmates in my pod. And at its height, I had about 22 of them in my cell for prayer and listening to our Bible studies. So, and some of those people I heard years later were affected by what I did. And I'd like to believe some came to Christ. So, and if people keep coming to Christ, then the witness isn't going to die out, right?
Yeah. Yep. I
Yeah.
get, just give that some thought. Martin, I'll let you on, but you got to make it quick because we only got a couple minutes. Okay. But I think you had a question or comment.
Thank you. Yes, Bill, you being a Christian, I want to know, and please tell the other Christians out there, would you or would you not do everything all over again if you had the chance to do so?
Thanks, Martin. Thanks. A great question.
That is a really good question. In terms of my personal family life, I would do a lot different. In terms of avoiding sexual sin, I would do that if I could. In terms of some of the anger issues I had when I was younger, I would redo that. In terms of picketing abortion clinics, losing my nursing career, going into the Pride Parade disguised as a gay zombie to share the gospel, I don't think I would do that stuff over again. I think I would do that. I think God even called me to that. So, often our lives are not black and white. I think my ministry was one that I was called to, as difficult and controversial as it is. When I look at my personal life, there is regrets. I trust that God might use some of that for good, but there might be lifelong consequences on this side of heaven as well. So, we have to accept those consequences, but not really defeat ourselves over them.
Yeah. There are natural laws.
There's
Spiritual,
natural law. Yep.
spiritual and physical
principles.
Yep.
Hey, David's life was plagued after he committed his sin with Bathsheba and murdered Uriah the Hittite. He even had some of his own kids want to kill him. And I don't know that was natural law, but that was spiritual principles. He sowed violence and adultery, and years later he was still reaping, and yet he was a man after God's own heart.
Bill Whatcott, Canadian Bill Whatcott. Bill, you've been a blessing to me. I love your drive. I love your loyalty to the Bible and to the truth. And I can only wish that the Lord would go before you, brother, and provide the protection around you, and keep the wind at your back instead of in the front. And I know that can happen. I don't know how that happens and when it happens, but you are truly a blessing, and I think exemplary in terms of, here it is before you. You see a need, you jump into it. You don't question it. You see it, you jump. And the consequences aren't always easy to begin with, but it's not this life that we need to concern ourselves with as much as we do the next life. Bill Whatcott, Canadian, thank you very much. We're fighting against this LGBTQ insanity that is going on the North American continent as well as elsewhere. Thank you again, Bill. I can't thank you enough. I can't thank everybody enough for helping out today. Clem, I would have got you in. You never unmuted, so I'm sorry, brother. If you want, you got 30 seconds, brother.
30 seconds. Bill, I think I disagree with you completely. I think your entry into that parade was the best thing you could have done.
No, I said that was a good thing. I liked it. I still like it. I'm all for that.
Awesome. Hey, the other thing is, we have to understand that we have allowed these things to happen by not pushing back on hate speech, hate crime. You cannot criminalize an emotion. When you allow it and use the terminology, you're endorsing it. We got to stop.
We have to run, brother. Thank you very much. Thank you very much.
God bless.
Thank you, Bill. God bless you.
Yeah, thanks.
Join us next week for Last Call with BJ Edwards.